Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Wellness Blueprints. I'm Jess Milner, and I'm so glad that you were here to nourish your roots with me. So, I am jumping on here to record this podcast in the middle of being totally overwhelmed about packing for a road trip this weekend. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because this is like got some serious nervous system freezing going on, right? So basically, it was like this morning, right? There was just, I knew there were so many different things that I had to do that I was like frozen and like super frustrated because I didn't like know where to begin, you know? So, where like when we get in, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. So when we get into that sympathetic, that fight or flight, there's also a freeze or a fawn in there. So sometimes we freeze. We have this like, for ADHD, we would call it like executive dysfunction, right? Where you got to do something, but there's so much you have to do that you literally can't even figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing first. And it becomes so difficult to even like think of what you might do first that you're just like, I can't do anything. I'm in this mood where I was just like, well, you know what? I like there's all this stuff that I have to do, and honestly, I don't want to do any of it, and I just want to go to bed. I want to go to bed and hide. I don't even care. I don't even care if I go. I'm like, and I mean, is that true? A little bit because like I could stay home, but it's also not true because like I want to go see my mom and I want to go see my sister and my nephew. I mean, like I'm taking the kids. We're gonna go on a road trip. We're gonna see some family, and it's gonna be fun. For a week. So of course, I like put up a post on Facebook, and there's some folks were just like, oh my gosh, I do this too. Like my one friend was like, I try to like go outside, take a walk, make myself something to eat or like go to the gym. And I was like, girl, exactly. I would like, as I was reading that, I was like putting on my shoes to do my lifting sesh because I hadn't done that yet this morning. So, like working some of that out. And, when I'm working, I don't know about you, but when I am exercising, I start to get ideas. I start to get like a list in my head. Sometimes I'll keep like a piece of paper and a pen right there, or have like something open on my phone that I can take notes in real quick. Because while I'm lifting, while my body is focused on that, my mind will focus on other things, and I'll be like, okay, so what I have to do is this, and this, because those are important things. So like I knew I needed to like call this place to see if they had a part for my truck. I have to make sure that this, that, and the other thing is done because, we got to take it's going on a road trip. So I'm like, okay, at some point I got to get the oil changed this week. I got to make sure that like, the tires are rotated and all those good things. So I started to think of like those things that I needed to prioritize, but when we get into this is so easy to happen. We get overwhelmed, and we get so overwhelmed that we're just like, all right, like screw this crap. I'm not doing any of this. And sometimes when you're overwhelmed with stuff, like that's okay to do that. Like when my kids are all fighting over what, like how much candy they're gonna, whatever. I'm like, we're not gonna do any of this. I'm just gonna go to the other room and we're done here. There are some situations where you can be like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I'm done. I'm gonna peace out. I'm not gonna do any of this. But some of the time it's like, okay, this is like that little bit of like annoyingness that we have to get through so that we can finish the task. One of my friends did say to me, and I say this to my kids all the time, so I definitely chuckle at this because I totally say this to my kids all the time. You can do anything, like you can eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Like you're not going to eat the whole thing at once. So like I'm thinking about like everything that needs to be done. So I'm like visualizing the truck completely packed with everything, but I haven't like made the list of all of the stuff that needs to be packed first. So I started off with just like, okay, kids, go and grab some clothes, make sure we're getting our laundry done and stuff like that. But when you're really, really overwhelmed like this, there are ways that we can calm ourselves down because what's going on is we are stuck in a fight or flight. Our vagus nerve is not activated. So we are in a state of survival. We are frozen. We are like on high alert, right? So like your nervous system thinks you're being chased by something or you're being super threatened by something, right? So I wanted to share a couple of things that we can do to kind of pull ourselves back into a good space so that we can look at everything. Because when we're all overwhelmed and inside our heads and everything and freaking out a little bit, we're frozen. We're not really thinking straight, and we might forget something important. So it's going to be important that we calm ourselves down so that we can, assess the situation a little bit better, right? So one of the things I like to do is the 5 4 3 2 1 thing. So you can do this wherever you are. You like find 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, I think, 3 things that you can touch, two things you can smell, one you can taste, so you just kind of like become aware of your surroundings, and that can, just kind of calm you and bring you back in. Something else that can be very, very helpful, grab a pen and piece of paper, or like maybe you're sitting at a computer, you're typing, whatever, brain dump everything that you need to do for whatever it is. Maybe it's not for vacation. Like maybe you're not packing all the kids and stuff for a vacation. Maybe it's something entirely different, but like just jot everything down, and maybe you can compile some sort of a list, or, like just pick one thing to start with, like make that one phone call. And I know making a phone call can be like the worst thing ever. I despise making phone calls unless I'm like calling my friend, I can call my friend, my mom, my sister. Like I can call like, friendly phone calls. But if I have to like make a phone call, like, we needed a part for the truck and I'm texting my husband, I'm like, hey babe, if you call this place and see if they have this part, I'll go pick it up. But I don't want to call, because like not only like I don't know anything about cars, not that he knows much more, but at least I don't know something about when a man calls. I'm like, you just call and talk to the people and see if they got it there. I don't like making phone calls if I don't have to. So pick one thing that you can start with that, will be like, okay, like I was like, all right, well, I'm going to water the flowers and, outside, and I'm going to water the plants inside, and I'm going to go work out. Even though those were not like things that were like part of my list of things to do for the vacation. Those were things that absolutely had to be done before I could do anything else. Really, I can't leave the house. I can't, so those were things that really needed to be done. So I'm like, okay, let me just start with that. And that's like, okay, that's my normal morning routine. Cause I was kind of getting ahead of myself, I'm sitting there like, I'm all overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, we're not just going to throw everything in the garbage can and light it all on fire just because, like I can't figure out what to do first. So pick one thing. All right. And when I tell people about this, with like just picking one thing, because sometimes it seems kind of like scary and nervous, like if I start getting into this, then I'm going to be in the middle of it. And then if I'm interrupted, then that, like, what if I forget something? So there's all these different factors that kind of like sit in the back of our brains that tell us, that like something is scary, so we don't want to start it. Like our nervous system, we're always trying to protect ourselves, always trying to stay in our comfort zone. Like we don't want to do anything that's uncomfortable. Like your brain's always protecting you from stuff like that. So, like this way I tell you, you have to kind of, take the step forward, do the scary things and stuff like that. So I always think of, which has nothing to do with vacation, but the episode of Friends where Chandler and Monica are going to be getting married, and Chandler kind of freaks out because they say like, we're the Bings or something on their voicemail. So he kind of freaks out and he like wanders off, and so, when Ross finds him eventually, and he's like, well, like we got to go. He's like, well, they called us the Bings, and, it's that's like freaking me out and everything. And Ross says to him, listen, yeah, like get it. This is a whole big thing, like I get it. This is a whole big scary thing. It's a big step to take. He's like, but all I'm asking you to do is come back to your apartment and take a shower. That's not scary. Start with the shower. Just come take a shower. You can take a shower, and then you'll deal with the next thing after that. So no matter what it is, like if like you have to, it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out all like this bag that I like put all of like the sunscreen, and like what bags are we gonna pack food in? And I gotta make a list of food to take. And I gotta maybe if you're flying, you gotta make a list of everything, and you gotta make sure you have enough blue painter's tape so that you can tape everything closed and put it inside all the Ziploc bags so nothing explodes and makes a huge big mess. And you gotta make sure you have like all of your tickets and everything like accounted for and everything. That can be really scary to think of all at once. So pick the one thing and start with that. And then once that's done, then you can move on. And hopefully you're going to build up some kind of a momentum. Now, for me, I never used to know what this was, but I do know what it is now, as being an undiagnosed ADHD gal. I never realized that having a body double really helps me get things done. So that is so freaking cool, right? So I know that if I have like a bunch of cleaning I need to do, or I need to work on this, I'm about to start chopping this up and cook this, or I'm doing this, that, or the other thing. If I call somebody, like if I call up, if I call up my bestie, if I call up my mom, my sister, if I get somebody on the phone and we're just chatting about whatever, I will get all that crap done because I'm on the phone with the person. They have no idea they're body doubling me. And I realize this because I'll get up and get stuff done when I'm on the phone. I won't just like sit on the couch. I'll be up walking around the house, doing this, that, and the other thing. I'll be like, oh, I'm just going to change my bed sheets. I'm going to throw this in the wash. I'm going to do this. I'll get all this stuff done while I'm on the phone with somebody. And I noticed, people were saying things like, like, oh, I hate when my husband's home because I don't get any of the housework done and everything. And I started thinking about that. And in my experience, I get way more done when he's here. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He doesn't have to be like, helping or whatever, but like I will get more things done. I feel more motivation when somebody else is there. So now sometimes I'll be like, I'll say to one of my kids, like, will you come hang out in the kitchen and talk to me? Because I got to get all this stuff done. And I need somebody to come and body double me. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Because they know I'm not asking them to do anything. My friend used to do that for me. She would come in and I would just be cooking and she'd just be standing there talking to me, and I'd get all this stuff done. And I never realized that that's what it was. So if something like that might work for you, I mean, like give somebody a call and like they don't have to like coach you through what you're doing. You're just having a conversation, but it gives you that motivation to keep going, right? It kind of, calms you down there. So, a couple other things because we are talking about, vagus nerve here. We're talking about some, issues with you feeling overwhelmed. Okay. And not being able to like calm it down and figure out where, make a decision for where to start and how you can start to get some things on your list done or even make the damn list, right? Whether it's a real list or it's a digital list or it's, a list in your head. If we want to activate our vagus nerve, you can cool yourself down somewhat, put some cold water like on your wrists or something like that. That can be super helpful. Singing, humming, okay? Humming especially really activates your vagus nerve. So, like little kids, they like to suck their thumb. And that's because like right behind your on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth there's a spot that when you press on it, it activates the vagus nerve. So it's very, very soothing to them, so little kids will do that. And the pacifier does that as well. So humming can do that too, because often your mouth is closed and your tongue is there. So even if you were just taking in some deep breaths and you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth there, that can activate your vagus nerve. But singing, humming, you can put on some music, just like if I'm doing something on the computer, I will put on like a focus, like house mix. It actually was sent to me by somebody else. She has like this playlist and it's like great because it's like low key in the background, but it helps keep you focused. It doesn't work for everybody, but some people it does. Other people really like to, like if you're running around and packing and doing stuff, maybe you want to put on a playlist and just like sing your heart out, those things will activate your vagus nerve. They're going to help to calm you down, bring you back to a good spot where you can think more clearly. Because that is what we need to do, right? Something else that you can do, just kind of like some gentle neck rolls. If you've ever been to like a yoga class, and if you're looking on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing here, but just very, very gentle. Okay. You don't want to go like insane, especially but just like gently moving. These can get everything moving, get your lymphatic system moving and everything. It's good stuff. So, one of my friends, of course, had mentioned going outside. Actually, several people said that. They were like, oh, go for a walk. I'll take my dogs for a walk or something like that. Yes, excellent. Because while you're doing that, you're focused on walking the dog. You're getting grounded. You're out in nature. You are doing something and you're breathing. And then you have an opportunity to think, okay, well, when I get back, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to do. And then you don't really need to know much further than that. You can go after that. And then I think the last thing I'm going to tell you is if you really want to, you can set yourself a little timer. I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. I will tell you that recording this podcast today was one of the things. And I'm like, okay, I have to do this. Where is it going to land in my priorities? And I'll tell you something, at like 8 o'clock this morning, I had no idea. I was ready to be like, I'm just going to go back to bed. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm not recording a podcast. I'm not going on my vacation. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm not doing laundry. I'm just going back to bed. I was just in that kind of a spot. And I'm really glad that I decided to go ahead and put that on social media and talk to, and have like some friends talk to me, because it is very validating, guys, when we realize that we're not alone. Like you're not alone. Other people are dealing with the same kind of things that you are. Maybe not exact. We're not all the same, because it'd be so freaking boring if everybody was the same. So we're not all supposed to be the same. But so many people also go through these kinds of things. So many people, there's plenty of people out there be like, what are you talking about? You have all this shit to do. What do you mean you have some executive dysfunction and you can't move and you can't do it? And you're freaked out because you need to do it. And now you're anxious over not doing it because you need to do it. Like they don't understand. And then other people will be like, girl, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I do this on a regular basis. And I know how extremely just, this can be really detrimental to so many different things. Oh my gosh, can you hear my dogs barking in the background? This is my home and I have puppy dogs. I don't know if you can hear them through the mic or not, but my puppy dogs are barking. But anyway, there is somebody out there who does know what you're going through. And so when we share things like this, it can be really, really helpful to have people like come and say, hey, try doing this, try doing that. And, I mean, the fact of the matter is, a lot of the time, I am that person who's stepping in and saying, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? But I am not so perfect, not perfect at all. Okay. But I'm not so perfect as to assume that I will never need that kind of advice as well. So I'm always very, very grateful to take advice from other people. Sometimes they're just reminding me of shit I already knew, right? Isn't that what's going on a lot of the time? So if you are preparing for something like that and you feel super overwhelmed and you cannot get yourself moving in your decisions, I hope that some of these tips will help you move forward with that. And I want you to know it's okay. You're not alone, and there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're gonna get your shit done. And sometimes we have to kind of like trick ourselves into doing stuff. You got to psych yourself into being excited about something or to get something done, and that's just the way of it. It happens sometimes, and that's okay. So I'm so glad that you stopped by to check out this podcast today. I hope that if you are planning a summer vacation, that it's going to be absolutely magical. If you would like to download my emotional balance toolkit, which has things like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and much, much more that you can implement at any time. You don't need a fuzzy blanket. You don't need a fuzzy pillow. You don't need to be out wandering, frolicking in the woods somewhere. You can use and implement these things literally anywhere with my emotional balance toolkit. It is just $7. You can print it out and take it around with you. Just go to go.deeprootedwellnessid.com/balance and you can grab that. Okay. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope everybody is staying cool and having a blast, and stay healthy, guys.